When I kicked off this channel last October, I knew it would take a little time and a lot of work to attract an audience. What I was not expecting was for a decision made on a whim to result in the single most successful piece of creative media I've ever produced. My reaction to the teaser trailer for James Gunn's upcoming Superman movie has, at time of recording, over 79,000 views, more than 4,500 likes, over 440 comments, and took me past 500 subscribers. The response has been frankly overwhelming, and I'm grateful for each and every person who has engaged with that video. But of course, I'm barely a footnote in the story of this trailer. In its first 24 hours, it had 250 million views, making it the most viewed trailer in DC and Warner Bros. History. Seriously, it was like the entire world was talking about this trailer. It gave us something we had been in short supply of. Hope. How did a 2.5-minute trailer with almost no dialogue, reportedly made up almost entirely of clips from the start of the movie, have such an impact? I'm going to show you. Welcome to the workshop. My name is Paul, aka Wordmaker. First off, if my voice sounds off or if I'm looking a little blotchy, I've got a head cold, but I also have the video to get out, so let's carry on. The first movie trailer I can recall getting excited about was for Ghostbusters 2. I was 9 years old and deep in my Ghostbusters phase. I was hyped every time this thing came on TV or appeared before a movie in the cinema.
Sometimes weird things happen. Someone has to deal with it. And who are you going to call? Like sucking the guts, guys. We're the Ghostbusters.
This was decades before we would be able to just sit down and watch a trailer wherever we wanted to. Trailers for new movies were like a lottery. You only got to see them in the theaters or occasionally during TV spots. And you never knew for sure what you were going to get. Now, to a 9-year-old wordmaker, trailers were just another kind of commercial. I hadn't yet developed my understanding of storytelling to realize exactly why this trailer got me so excited. Over time, I came to see that when done well, a trailer can be so much more than just a commercial for the next big blockbuster. With a solid team behind it working towards a creative goal, a great movie trailer can be a form of storytelling all on its own. Any trailer can tease the plot and let us know which characters to look out for. There are whole communities of creators out there who are able to pick out the minute details and make deep lore connections, and their work proves it. Even the worst trailers can do this. But there is a risk of relying too heavily on Easter eggs and plot beats, to the point where some trailers basically give you the whole story. The best trailers, on the other hand, focus on how they want you to feel, not what information they want to share with you or twists they can hint at. To show how trailers do this, I'm going to break down last December's Superman teaser release. In my older videos, this is where I would explain the rules of the workshop, my guidelines for how I approach my critical analysis. Now I've got a separate video for that, so if you need a refresher, you can pause here and check that out before coming back. There's also a link in the description below. Okay, are we all up to speed in the rules? Great, because I'm going to break rule 2 right away. I don't think it's fair to really assess the trailer without also looking at the motion poster shared as the announcement of its release. While you can absolutely give a quality analysis of the trailer on its own, it's also important to consider the mindset we were all in going into this, especially given the context of how we've seen Superman on screen these last several years, and the overall state of the world. A lot is riding on James Gunn's Superman. Creature Commanders aside, it's the flagship entry in the new DCU, and it's fair to say fans have been skeptical about DC's chances at the box office since the lackluster showings of the now defunct DCEU that Zack Snyder kicked off with Man of Steel. This movie has some heavy lifting to do, both to shake off the lingering impression of the DCEU's tone and missteps, and to revitalize Superman on the big screen. Remember, aside from Tyler Hoechlin, the primary image of Superman that we've had for over a decade is from Zack Snyder's loose trilogy of movies. I love Henry Cavill as an actor, and while I'm not fond of Snyder's take on Superman, it's impossible to ignore the fact that there is a whole generation of people whose formative knowledge of the character came from those movies. For a lot of fans, Cavill is still their Superman. Just as for many people my age and older, the character will forever be associated with Christopher Reeve. So, personal feelings aside, I have to acknowledge that Snyder's Superman has had a huge impact on the modern view of the character. Audiences were so used to this cold, rounding interpretation that the prevailing embodiment of truth and justice for the last 12 years has been Captain America. Mary Cherry's excellent reaction to the 1979 Richard Donner Superman stands out to me in particular, since she's one of the many who was introduced to Superman in Man of Steel. She is genuinely taken aback at how Superman spends the movie just doing good.
He really is on a good Samaritan roll. He's on a roll right now. He's really enjoying saving people.
I can't imagine what it must feel like to see Superman and be surprised that he's kind and gentle. When we factor that against our current global landscape with climate change progressing, storms and horrendous wildfires becoming more common, tech billionaires influencing politics, and literal fascists controlling the most powerful government in the world, things feel pretty dire. We need something good. We need hope. We need Superman. And on December 16th, James Gunn shared a motion poster with a simple tagline: Look up. It's lovely to look at, frankly, with its bright, saturated colors. Not too bad. Then people noticed the muted audio button. And with a click, everything changed. This softly vocalized take on the classic John Williams theme was utterly profound. For Snyder's Superman, Hans Zimmer developed a very different theme than we'd had before. Even with the different interpretations of the character over the years, both in live action and animation, composers typically employed a lot of brass instruments with upbeat, heroic melodies. Zimmer's synth-heavy score steered away from that, with a less bombastic, more somber theme reflecting the darker, sterner interpretation of the character. With the return of John Williams' theme, albeit in a new arrangement by John Murphy, all of a sudden it became clear that the upcoming teaser was going to have something to say. Now, before anyone mentions it in the comments, the first 10 seconds of music in the motion poster are not based on Zimmer's score. It's the theme John Williams used to represent Kansas in the 1978 movie and can most clearly be heard on the track Leaving Home. Given that James Gunn has said the part of the story for this movie will focus on Clark figuring out if he's more a product of Krypton or he's home in Kansas and his human parents, referencing that theme makes a lot of sense. So this was the headspace we were all in, waiting for the teaser. With that in mind, let's get to work. The teaser opens on the Arctic landscape, with the howling winds interrupted by Superman crashing into the ground. We get the initial shot of Superman in the famous Yamcha pose, then cut to shots of Clark Kent. The framing evokes a sense of flashback, as though while lying in the snow, his thoughts are drifting back to his regular life, his human disguise. And the first thing we see Superman do is spit up blood. Damn, James Gunn is going hard. One of the most important aspects of Superman, which frankly Zack Snyder overlooked, is that for all his power, he is deeply human. He has great strength, but he can be gentle. He's almost invulnerable, but he feels the suffering of others. It's significant, therefore, that our introduction to this new Superman is him at his most vulnerable, his most mortal. We've seen Superman hurt before, but it's usually some kind of fantasy peril like being repelled by kryptonite or surviving a nuclear blast. Listen to him trying to breathe. That's damaged lungs, probably some broken ribs. His face is cut up, his neck looks bruised. These injuries are bad, but they also feel real. They feel human. But in mere moments, we cut to black, and that electric guitar kicks in, playing the John Williams theme. It's slow, almost wary, as if the music itself is calling to him, hoping he'll answer. It's frequently pointed out that the music used for many adaptations says the name Superman. And this is most clear in John Williams' theme and the theme Shirley Walker wrote for the Superman animated series. So even now, before there's been one word of dialogue, the trailer is calling to Superman. We get this nice establishing view of the Daily Planet bullpen, little interaction between Clark and Lois. Then we go to the Kent farm. And check this out. Often the Kent farm is depicted as including a huge 2-story farmhouse, which may be reflective of working class farmers back in the 1930s, but today homes like that are worth a fortune. This is much closer to what a modern working class farmer would own. I don't like to speculate about plot details when looking at trailers, but I wonder if this shot of Clark clearly trying to comfort his father indicates that his parents are in financial trouble. Small farms are on the decline as corporations buy up land and livestock, and this would be an interesting take on how, for all his powers, there are some problems even Superman can't solve. And the temptation could be there to use his powers for profit. Besides, it would be nice if Gunn could avoid killing off another woman in the name of a male character's emotional journey, so I really hope this scene isn't about Clark's mother dying, and his parents possibly losing their home and farm is the only other option I can think of that would have some weight to it. At the 1 minute mark, the electric guitar continues further into the theme, and Superman whistles for Krypto. With the music accompanying it growing stronger, this feels like a metaphorical refusal to give up. Superman is choosing to survive and to fight. Krypto, in all his goofy glory, grabs the cape in his mouth and runs. And we hard cut into Superman speeding in, putting himself between the little girl and flying debris from the kaiju in the background. The music swells, not just a solo electric guitar anymore, but layers of rich synth working together. Our first action shot of Superman is not him flying high in the sky, punching someone, or even some great feat of strength. It's him putting himself between danger and the innocent child. Almost too late, barely arriving just in time to protect her with his body. As the music continues and we get our first look at Lex Luthor, we hear voices now calling for Superman. First out of a small boy, then others following. The boy raises a flag and says Superman's name so softly despite the explosions in the background, like he's praying. The voices continue to call out, while someone throws a can at Superman's head and he flinches. He stands in the Stag Industries lobby and bows his head with this look of sheer frustration and hurt. Did he try to save someone only to fail? Did stopping the kaiju cause damage that could have been avoided? Are the crowd angry because Superman is working with Stag's corporate-owned superhero team? We don't know. But these short shots show us that this is a Superman who is conflicted and struggling emotionally. It's interesting to me that of the Stag team we see, only Mr. Terrific is shown using his abilities to protect someone, though he seems completely unfazed, safe within his force field. It's quite reminiscent of Zack Snyder's detached, stoic take on Superman. Hawkgirl gets a glamour shot in flight, while Guy Gardner is shown using his Green Lantern ring to create a barrier around the Stag Industries lobby. He's separating himself and these other supposed heroes from the very people they're meant to protect. Only Superman is shown struggling and placing himself at risk. Only Superman is shown to be connected to the world. Only Superman wants to help people. The voices change. It's subtle, but once you notice it, you can't miss it. They're not calling out to him in desperation anymore. They're chanting his name. Superman rises, flying up through the flames and into the bright blue sky. The music ends in triumph. Not because the threat is over. Not because the battle's won. But because Superman is on his way. And he's going to save us. James Gunn has said that the initial image of Superman bloodied and beaten was intentionally chosen to reflect where America is as a country. And these days, what happens to America ripples out and affects those of us in the rest of the world. That's the story this trailer is telling. That's what it's telling us about the movie. We need Superman now. more than ever. This will be the first Superman for a whole new generation of people. And while a movie can't save the world, it can give us hope. Look up. Thank you for watching. I wasn't planning on doing another Superman video so soon, but I found that the more I watched other discussions about the trailer, the more I had things to say that I hadn't said in my reaction video. Next, I'll be going back a few years and into the darker world of Gotham City to see how Christopher Nolan might have missed the mark a bit on his take on Batman. If you want to see that before everyone else, or join my Discord server, maybe even get your name in the end credits, consider joining us on patreon.com/wordmaker if you can. If not, that's okay. Even a like, share, and subscribe helps. Remember to back up your arguments, cite your sources, take care, and I'll see you next time.